It's June 16, and for fans of literature and book lovers and scholars and critics all over the world, that only means one thing. It's Bloomsday, the celebration of the hero Leopold Bloom as he wanders the streets of Dublin in 1904. This comes to us from a book written by James Joyce, Ulysses, one of the most enduring and masterful works of literature, not just of the past century, but of the entire English history. It's a very controversial book. It's actually been part of it was handled in an obscenity trial. It's been called the most dangerous book. It was very strongly denounced by people such as Paulo Coelho. But to be fair, who cares about that? But yeah, it has been, considered an exercise in arrogance, in pomposity, in, unnecessary complications. But it's a great book. It is, like I said, a masterpiece. It is a worldwide celebration. Today is when we celebrate this journey of our mourning, melancholy hero, Leopold Bloom. And it's the book we're going to be reading today on Litscapes. All right. Everyone, welcome to Litscapes. Thank you all so much for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about something very, very cool. It's Bloomsday. It's June 16th. And that means talking about James Joyce's masterpiece, Ulysses. This is the one. Yeah. Right. Ulysses is the prime example of modernist literature, particularly English. Yeah, granted, but universal literature, this is a must read, right? If you want to know anything about art in the 20th century, you have to read Ulysses, published in 1922. And the source of a lot of controversy, the object of a lot of scrutiny. It was banned in the US for a while. It has some very lewd scenes. There's going to be some masturbation. There's going to be some defecation. There's going to be sex, and which for the early 1920s, yeah, it was maybe a bit too steamy.
Very scandalous.
Oh my God, yes, it was super scandalous. But eventually, it did make its way through to publication, and we celebrate June 16th in the world of literature today because the book is essentially about one man's wanderings, meanderings through the streets of Dublin in 1904 on the day of June 16th. The whole book is June 16th. This whole thing right here is one day. Just one day in the life of Leopold Bloom. And so June 16 has come to be known as Bloomsday, and it's celebrated. It's actually like very seriously celebrated worldwide. I know that in Dublin they have huge festivals. They have this literary tour where they actually take you through the places that the protagonist visits. Like none of this is. I mean, of course, it's a work of fiction, yes, but everywhere he visits still exists in Dublin, and you can actually go there and see the places and stand where the character actually stood, according to James Joyce, the author. And so it's a very big deal. So it's June 16th today. Granted, we're probably not gonna be posting this today. I mean, heads up for everyone. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, hopefully we can have this soon, right, at some point. But it is June 16th today, and I thought, it's going to be pretty fun to do this special show. And also, it's Father's Day. It's Father's Day, so first of all, a big shout out to all the fathers out there. I do imagine there's going to be a few fathers maybe watching. But a big thank you and congratulations to all of you, especially my dad. If you're watching, of course, thank you, congratulations, love you. And actually, my first experience with Ulysses will be through my dad. We're gonna get into that in a bit. But yeah, this is what we're gonna be reading, and today we're gonna have a very special guest. Yeah, we're gonna bring along a former student, a dear friend, and a colleague of mine. We're gonna bring on Milla Pérez, who's gonna be joining us to discuss James Joyce's Ulysses. It's gonna be very fun. Please stay with us, and we'll be back right after a quick word from our sponsors. All right, well, Milla, thank you so much for joining us on Litscapes.
Thank you. I was dragged here against my will, actually.
That's not true. No, she's been invited. Remember, you've been invited.
Okay. I came for the cookies then.
well, for now you have to settle for water. But anyhow, Milla, yeah. So today we're gonna be talking about Ulysses. I don't know if you've noticed, it's Bloomsday.
It's Bloomsday.
Happy
right?
Bloomsday.
We are missing the Guinnesses and the potato.
That would be great. Yeah, that would be really great.
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time. Yeah, if ever you wanna, be invited again, or
Drag
you for one more of these. We'll have some Guinness beers. But yeah, I know it would have really set the mood for some Irish beer and the potato.
The potato.
Well, more ideas for future episodes. We can have some thematic props, okay? Director, take note. Yes, yeah, right. But for now, we just have our books, Ulysses, right? So, but before we get into the actual book and before we read a little bit from it, tell me just what are you doing? I know that you graduated high school. You're class of 2019.
19.
Right? Class of 2019. 5 years. Wow, right?
5 years ago.
Tempus fugit. And you went off to study English.
Yes. At UNAM.
At UNAM, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Goya. It's my alma mater. It's definitely my alma mater. Yeah?
That gives you a bit of cringe. I don't know, in our generation we don't we are more niche. We don't say Goya anymore.
Oh really?
Yeah. That's for lawyers or
oh god, then maybe we can edit that Goya out. But no, for me it was definitely my alma mater. I do have a lot of college pride.
Yes, and I also have really good memories of UNAM.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and it was the first and actually the only option, because in Mexico it's the only university that offers English literature.
But why English literature? Of everything you could have studied.
I had a really troublesome period in high school actually, and I was between studying forensic science or forensic medicine and studying literature. And they are very different.
Yeah, worlds apart.
And I remember once when I turned 18, my cousin took me to this bar and we were discussing my career options and what I would do. And he told me, well, you have two options based on what you've told me.
Mm-hmm.
You can go into forensic science and have a call in the middle of the night asking you to be at the crime scene, or you can be at your computer. I don't know. I think
doing research on
that sort of clicked something, made something click, and at the time I was really obsessed with this idea that the death of someone really tells many things about the way they have lived.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that at that moment, as I said, it was a bit troublesome. I had some issues back then, and it was a book that saved me. And I really liked the idea that literature can save people too. Like,
There it is, everyone. Okay, so I hope you're all paying attention and following subscribing to the channel, Litscapes. Literature can save you. Yeah, and honestly, yeah, I think it can. But in your case, it sounds even more literal. Do we get the title of the book?
it was No Longer Human by Daisayo Samu.
Right,
You've
yeah.
already said that it's a pretentious book.
Did I say pretentious? I mean,
some sources told me that you said that,
But
but I am not
pretentious.
sure. I wasn't a witness.
No, and honestly, it may have been. It was recommended to me initially by you, Sara. Right, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and I read it maybe a couple years ago, and I don't know, it's been so highly recommended, and maybe I was just a bit overhyped, so
That could have been.
it left me wanting a little bit more.
Yes, I read it expecting nothing from it, and I think that was mostly what got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, No Longer Human.
No longer
Yeah, good.
human.
Also, this idea that you mentioned, I'm remembering right now precisely a quote from Garcia Marquez. I honestly don't remember if it was 100 Years of Solitude or Love in the Time of Cholera. And he says precisely, nothing says more about a person's life than the way they died.
Yes, I was really obsessed with that, and I made it my art project, and
Okay, very cool.
I was really interested.
Yeah, it's I do think there is some truth behind that.
Partly.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, definitely No Longer Human. That's gonna be.
Yes, and it's the author's last published novel before he took his own life.
Right.
So I think that has many things to do with what I was going through at the time. Yes, I think it was the light at the end of the tunnel.
So literature saves you. You decide to major in English, and you come at some point across Ulysses. Now, how is that? Was this an assignment, or did you just took it as a personal challenge?
Yes. Well, my first interaction with James Joyce wasn't the most agreeable, let's say. There weren't, I am going to be very honest, there weren't many seminars available at the time. And there was Ulysses, and it was given by a very famous professor who dedicated basically her life to Ulysses. And I heard many great things about her, and I was a bit reticent about reading Joyce because I had like this figure of the godlike author with strange kinks. Because I knew from someone that he wrote letters to his wife, really scatological descriptions. I was a bit repulsed by the image of Joyce, and the first half of the seminar, because it lasted a whole year, I was like, and one of my friends went with me to buy the book. And I was like,
this is what I have to read? Really?
And I took my card and I was like, not wanting to give it to the cashier. But my friend had already attended the seminar, and her favorite book from the whole degree was Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. And I said, well, what can I lose? Let's give it a try. So
so you read it?
I read it. I wasn't really invested. But once I got into it, I said, this isn't that bad, and this has really good things, and I started liking it, and I started talking to my friends about the book and what I had seen in that class. And I started falling in love with Ulysses silently.
Really?
Yes.
Now, how many times have you read it?
Just one.
Just once,
But I think that it is a book you have to read several times
Yeah, definitely.
to get the gist of it.
And even if, like in my case, I have to also read it once only. I read it along with this companion piece, the new Bloomsday book, and yeah, no, obviously it goes almost like line by line, but without being too. Like it really cuts down on the interpretation and just tells you directly kind of what's going on in each paragraph, right? Or each page, and it's been my only time reading it, but even then I do feel that one more reading at least would really.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no, there's too
enough.
much. Yeah, not even two, I would say. No,
Yeah.
It's one of those books. Yeah, it's chock full of references, allusions, and it's not like the title, right? Everyone, it's Ulysses. This, of course, draws attention to Greek mythology. You may remember Ulysses is what's the Latin version of the hero Odysseus from Homer's The Odyssey, who after the Trojan War, right, which lasted 10 years, he spends another 10 years trying to get back home, during which time his son Telemachus and his wife Penelope are waiting, hopeful still that their dad, husband, still out there, and back to Ithaca, right? Ulysses was the king of Ithaca, and so the book takes the structure of Ulysses or Odysseus' wanderings throughout the Mediterranean, but you can read it just like that, right? You can read it with just keeping this in mind. But if you dig a little bit deeper, you'll see that there's a lot about Irish history.
Yes.
Right? That's very easy to get lost in.
A lot of Hamlet as well.
There's a lot of Hamlet in it, definitely. And all the puns, all the
yes.
All the wordplay.
The wordplay.
Yeah. This is the book that actually, from which the term in modern physics, we get the word quark. Quark as a subatomic particle.
Why didn't I know that?
Yeah, comes. There's a scene, and I don't remember the exact scene right now, but Leopold Bloom is at a bar. At a bar,
is he
yeah. Doesn't he walk into the?
He goes to have lunch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he orders like this sandwich with really strong cheese.
Actually, it could be that scene, maybe. Yeah. No, wait, no. You know what? It might. I'm so sorry, but it might be his next novel, Finnegan's Wake. Regardless, it's James Joyce who gives who creates this word quark, and some physicist later on, while reading one of these books, it was either Ulysses or Finnegan's Wake. He says, "Oh, I need a name for this new subatomic particle that we've just, discovered or theorized about. I'm gonna name it quark because that's the page I'm on." And that's where we get the term quark in quantum physics. Yeah. So James Joyce also is creating words to express what he feels is otherwise, ineffable.
Or these descriptions of people and the Basiliskide.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Basiliskide.
Yeah.
It's a word I like.
Yeah,
what else?
There's a bunch of words that not only he creates but also popularizes or.
Snot Green Sea. The Sea of Ireland. They take a lot of pride in their green color, and he says snot green sea.
It's the snot green sea, yeah, at the very beginning, right, with Buck Mulligan. Yeah, right. So and your experience beyond that, you say that you silently started falling in love with the book.
I started complaining to my friends about Ulysses. The sooner than I realized, I was already liking the book, and I was really invested in looking for references, and I was talking all the time. I wouldn't shut up.
Really? How long did it take you?
How long did it take me to read it?
Yeah.
I read it along the seminar. We would dedicate a few days, a few classes to each chapter, and we would use Stuart Gilbert's guide and the audiobook that was made in the 1980s, which is great, by the way.
I very vaguely remember some of this stuff. I too took a seminar when I was studying myself there at UNAM.
Did you have a Ulysses seminar as well?
I took one. It was in the postgrad in the annex of the school.
Oh, Moridor.
Yeah, right. And but we didn't read all of it. I was hoping that it was more kind of like maybe just this workshop on techniques of how to read it. And so we started reading it, and the idea was to get every participant sort of in the groove and set them on their way. Okay. But I did not read it then and there. I did not finish it there and then on my own. I restarted it some years later, just for the kicks.
Yes, this seminar was really great because we covered the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Some parts were a bit rushed, but I think that most of it, I was really proud because I had finished it when I did.
Yeah.
It gave me like this sort of, I read this book.
It is one of those books that's like a summit.
Yes.
Right. Once you finish Ulysses, you can say like, I've actually achieved something in literature as a reader.
Yes. Even somebody told me like, I respect you because you have read Ulysses.
Yeah.
It felt weird.
It feels weird. It's like, okay, maybe that's a
nice.
bit. That's pretentious right there, no?
Yeah.
It's like a rite of passage.
We each have our moment of pride.
Yeah, no, it is a source of pride. It is sort of like a rite of passage. Like once you read Ulysses, you can say, okay, yeah, I'm ready for fuck it, let's go. Let's read what's next? In Search of Lost Time. Let's read some Proust. Let's read Tolstoy. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. It's like now I can read anything, right? But have you any other experience with James Joyce? Have you read Portrait of the Artist?
I haven't read. I have read some bits of Portrait of the Artist, and I have read some bits from Dubliners as well. IRB, The Dead.
Ah, yeah, The Dead is.
What else?
Good stuff.
I am missing one. Evelyn? I think it's Evelyn.
From Dubliners.
Yes.
Yeah, I too have only read a few stories from Dubliners. I have read Portrait of the Artist as a young man. I loved it. Well, I started reading it. I read a bit in high school, some years ago. Portrait of the Artist, and then I read it in college, and I really, really liked it. Well, a little bit of context for you guys out there listening to us. So, Portrait of the Artist as a young man is James Joyce's first novel. He only wrote 3 novels.
It works like a prequel.
Right? It works kind of like a prequel, yeah. And in it, he kind of sets the groundwork for what's later to come to be known as the stream of consciousness style, which is this attempt to capture a character's actual thinking process. It's not just talking to yourself. It's not just the internal monologue. It's actually trying to capture the thinking process. Unfiltered, right? Loose and broken and
lewd
and sudden and lewd, yeah. And so he kind of starts out with it a little bit in Portrait of the Artist as a young man, but it really finds its ultimate expression in Ulysses.
Yes.
And I don't remember when that first one was published, but I want to say 1916, around there, and it's gonna be at least like 8 years later that he publishes Ulysses.
Ulysses?
Definitely, like around a decade between the two. Yeah. But definitely Portrait of the
A
Artist.
decade sounds short for writing Ulysses.
Well, he was writing it
Earlier.
before publishing Portrait of the Artist. But yeah, definitely no. I also recommend that one. That's the story of Stephen Dedalus, who appears at the beginning
And at the end.
and at the end, right? But he's also kind of like he has these like cameos, no,
Cameos.
in Bloom's wanderings.
And his father as well.
And his father,
He appears at the scene of the funeral, I believe.
yeah, right. It's Stephen Dedalus. I don't remember the father's name. Mr. Dedalus.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So Dublin was, a very small town, even though it's a major city, I guess by those standards, still a very small, very conservative, very Catholic town, and everyone knew each other, right? And especially in the pubs, everyone knew who was where at any given time. Yeah. So Leopold Bloom, he's gonna mention he runs into a character, and then maybe he bumps into them again later on in the book, and it's one of those books where you really have to keep track of what you're reading, right? Because I remember a cloud.
Yes, the cloud.
The cloud.
The cloud appears on the first. I think that Leopold and Stephen see it at the same time, but in different situations.
Exactly. Well, yeah, of course. No, it's the same cloud at the same time, but we see it first with Stephen in the first part of the book.
Yes, and it reminds Stephen of his mother.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything's reminding him of it.
Yeah.
Of his mother.
Mommy issues.
Yeah. No, clearly.
But,
But you can't blame him. He dies. I don't know if.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
No, I
No.
remember.
Yeah.
We have an explicit scene of Stephen being at his mother's deathbed.
And Buck mocks him a lot for it
And
at the beginning. Yeah.
Yes.
His mother dies while asking his firstborn, Stephen, to kneel and pray for her soul, and he denies it. Yeah, he refuses to pray for her. Yeah, it's heady stuff. But anyhow, at the beginning of the book, he sees a cloud, reminds him of his mother, right? And then later on in the book, but at the same time of the day, Bloom.
And we have like these markers, right,
Mhm.
of time.
Yeah.
What time is it? What day is it today? I think the date is only mentioned once.
Yeah,
I
June
think
16th.
so. I remember underlining it somewhere.
Bloomsday.
Somewhere.
Bloomsday, so yeah, 1904. But yeah, there are these markers that give the reader precise, the indication of when is this happening, what time of the day it is, right? Because it goes from, I want to say I think it starts like at 6 in the morning. For
No, it's in the afternoon, right?
it starts in the morning.
It starts in the morning.
It starts in the morning.
But the clouds.
The cloud is
It's
gonna
later
be
on.
it's gonna be yeah, exactly. Because I think it's when Stephen is walking on the beach.
On the beach.
But I don't.
No,
Don't quote me on that.
Bloom is walking on the beach, right?
Yeah, but it's the same beach that Stephen walks on in I think it's the third chapter.
And the pebbles.
After he
We have
remember
like
he closes his
video.
eyes. He closes his eyes
Yes.
and walks blindly to picture what it's like to be blind.
Right.
And I think it's that same chapter where he sees the cloud, and it's already the afternoon because he's gone to give a class. He talks to his boss, which represents Nestor in Ithaca, Telemachus. And then he's walking on the beach at some point. I think that's where he sees the cloud.
Maybe. Probably.
But I don't. But it's in the afternoon.
As you were saying, that you have to keep track of all the characters that come together at the same scene. I like this theory that all James Joyce's works are linked together.
Yeah.
That they coexist in the same universe.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like you said, the Portrait of the Artist is a sort of prequel to this one, but it's a story of Stephen Dedalus, right? It's a
different character.
It's a different character than our protagonist here, but it's the book is a Kunstlerroman, right? A novel about the the maturity of an artist.
Maturity.
Yeah.
Bildungsroman.
Bildungsroman is coming of age.
Okay.
And Kunstlerroman is a novel about the making of an artist.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. And so, but it's also Bildungsroman because it's Stephen's coming of age. And then we have this one where Stephen is already, he's an actual teacher, right? He's already, well, I don't know his age, but he's gotta be 20.
I think he's 22.
22?
Because when I read it, I saw that he was my age.
Oh. You read it at 22.
Oh, we are the same age. I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing. But I was the same age. That's something that was.
Yeah, and in portrait he's gotta be, well, he was still in high school.
But I have showered more times than he has.
Yeah, well, yeah, come on, cut the guy some slack, he's Irish. Yeah, and Catholic to boot, so not the most.
Stephen.
Not from the most well-off family. Yeah, poor guy. But the next book, Finnegan's Wake, is, I actually don't know if it's a character from the universe. It's gotta be, but I don't know who.
It takes place in a bar, right? Someone dies. Or
Yeah.
at a funeral?
I think it's a bar.
And
But-
his friends go drinking without him.
Yeah, but the whole book is just like a dream sequence.
Because he's already dead.
I don't know if he's already dead or if he's actually dreaming or if he's remembering his dreams. I don't know, but I do know that Finnegan's Wake, like, if this is dense, and it is a very, very dense book.
Finnegan's Wake is
Finnegan's
denser.
Wake is yeah, no. It's just crazy. I haven't actually tried reading it myself. Like, it's there, you know. It's like, oh, maybe one of these days I'll read Finnegan's Wake. But honestly, it's like, who am I kidding? There have been book clubs dedicated entirely to Finnegan's Wake, and they take decades to read it.
One of my he wasn't one of my classmates because he was a year older than we were, but he wrote his dissertation on Finnegan's Wake.
Really? As an undergrad?
I admire him, but I also fear him.
That's serious stuff.
Yes.
Man, that's someone who takes literature very, very seriously. Yeah, as an undergrad, I didn't read this in college. I tell you, I took this seminar, I started it.
Do you remember how old you were?
No, actually, yeah, I did read it in college, but it was much later, because I had the semester on modernist literature, and then I started reading it just for myself a little bit later. But I was still in college, and this was my second major, so I must have been like 33 when I read it for the first time.
33 and 22.
33 and 22. Yeah. Now 22, I would have said that's a very good age for Ulysses.
Or being traumatized.
I mean, I tell you, when I was looking at this stuff, I read the beginning of Portrait of the Artist in high school, and I was like, what is this? You know, it's not making any sense.
16.
And I was 16. Yeah, junior. And then I read Portrait in college, and I finally, found some appreciation for it and silently loved it. No, I was very, very loud and clear about my I don't want to say love. I wouldn't say Joyce is one of my all-time greats. I did really enjoy Ulysses. I did really enjoy Portrait of the Artist.
But I think that once you finish it, you understand the historical importance it has and how
Bloomsday.
it changed literature.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is definitely like I mentioned earlier, the prime example of modernist literature and the stream of consciousness. And you cannot understand literature in the 20th century without James Joyce, in any language, right? But it is James Joyce. Yeah, once you read it, you're like, okay,
I get it.
And it is an achievement, and it is something to celebrate now, the finishing of the book. And well, here we are celebrating Bloomsday now every June 16th. One of my dreams is still visiting Dublin.
And the spots.
On the spots,
mentioned.
yeah. I mean, on Bloomsday would be great, no, but at least visiting the place.
Somebody told me that in Dublin, each Bloomsday, people line up to read parts of the novel.
Yeah, I know that there's this walking tour, and they go along reading, like a read aloud, as you walk from place to place.
And you can participate. Write your own name. I want to read this.
Oh yeah, like the tourists.
I think so.
Oh, that's so cool.
I don't know if the tourists, but the locals, I think they do so.
Well, actually, that brings us to our next point. How about we get into some of our favorite memorable passages?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe we can share some of these with our viewers. But let's get to a quick break, and we'll come back with Ulysses. All right, we are back on Litscapes, and what we're gonna do right now is share some of our favorite, most memorable passages from the book. We're gonna read a little bit from it, and see why do you like specifically this one part, right? And so maybe if you want to read a couple of pages, couple of paragraphs, whatever you feel comfortable with. But whatever the case, it's time to get lit. Get to it.
Okay, so I'm gonna read this part from Les Trigonians, which is one of my favorite chapters. It's on, I don't know.
But you got page 174. It's gonna be similar. Yeah, here. Precisely 174.
Yep. Okay. So, Mr. Bloom, champing, standing, looked upon his eye, nosy numbskull. Will I tell him that horse, Lenehan? He knows already. Better let him forget. Go and lose more. Fool and his money. Dewdrop coming down again. Cold nose he'd have kissing a woman. Still they might like. Prickly beards they like. Dogs' cold noses. Old Mrs. Riordan with the rumbling stomachs. Sky Dairy in the City Arms Hotel. Molly fondling him in her lap. Oh, the biggie doggy bowsy wowsy.
Whoa, wait a minute. Oh, the big doggy.
The big doggy. Bow wowsy wowsy.
Wowsy, yeah.
Bow wowsy wowsy.
Yeah, all right.
Wine soaked, unsoftened, rolled pitch of bread mustard. A moment mawkish cheese. Nice wine it is. Tasted better because I'm not thirsty. Bath of course does that. Just a bite or two. Then about 6 o'clock I can... 6. Time will be gone then. She... Mild fire of wine kindled his veins. I wanted that badly. Felt so off color. His eyes unhungrily saw shelves of tins, sardines, gaudy lobster's claws, all the odd things people pick up for food. Out of shells, periwinkles with a pin, off trees, snails out of the ground the French eat, out of the sea with a bait on a hook. Silly fish learn nothing in 1,000 years. If you didn't know risky putting anything into your mouth. Poisonous berries, Johnny Margaries. Roundness you think good. Gaudy color warns you off. One fellow told another and so on. Try it on the dog first. Led on by the smell or the look. Tempting fruit, ice cones, cream, instinct. Orange grows, for instance, with artificial irrigation. Bleibtreustrasse.
That's a street.
Bleibtreustrasse. Yes, but what about oysters? Unsightly, like a clot of phlegm. Filthy shells, devil to open them to. Who found them out? Garbage, swetch they feed on. Fish and red bank oysters. Effect on the sexual. Aphrodis. He was in the red bank this morning. Was he oyster old fish at table? Perhaps he young flesh in bed. No, June has no R, no oysters. But there are people like tainted game. Jogged hair. First catch your hair. Chinese eating eggs. 50 years old. Blue and green again. Dinner of 30 courses. Each dish, harmless, might mix inside. Idea for a poison mystery. The Archduke Leopold, was it? No. Yes. Or was it Otto? One of those Habsburgs? Sorry. Or who was it they used to eat the scruff of his own head? Cheapest lunch in town. Of course, aristocrats. Then the others copy to be in fashion. Millie too, rock oil and flour. Raw pastry I like myself. Have the catch of oysters they throw back in the sea to keep up the price. Cheap. No one would buy. Caviar. Do the grand. Hawk in green glasses. Swell blowout. Lady this. Powered bosom pearls. The elite. Creme de la creme. They want special dishes to pretend they are. Hermit with a platter. Of Paul skip down the sticks of the flesh. Know me, come eat with me. Royal sturgeon. High sheriff. Kofi. The butcher. Right to the benisons of the forest from his ex. Sending him back to the half of a cow. Spread I saw down in the master of the Rolls kitchen area. White-hatted chef, like a rabbi. Combustible duck. Curly cabbage, à la Duchesse de Parme. Just as well to grade it on the bill. A fare so you can know what you've eaten. Too many drugs spoil the broth. I know it myself. Doing it with the others desiccated soup. Geese stuffed silly for them. Lobsters boiled alive. Do take some parmesan. Wouldn't mind being a waiter in a swell hotel. Tips, evening dress, half-naked ladies. May I tempt you to a little more filleted lemon sole, Miss Dubidad? Yes, Dubidad. And she did Dubidad. Huge not name, I expect that. A Miss Dubidad lived in Kilney, I remember. Du de la French. Still, it's the same fish. Perhaps old Mickey Hanlon or Moore Street ripped the outside of making money. Hand over first. Finger in fish's gills. Can't write his name on a check. Think he was painting the landscape with his mouth twisted. Moo kill, I chaha. Ignorant as a kitch of rogues, worth 50,000 pounds. Stuck on the pane, 2 flies buzzed. Stuck. Glowing wine on his palate, lingered, swallowed, crushing in the wine-pressed grapes of Burgundy. Sun's heat it is. Seems to a secret touch, telling me memory, touching his sense. Moistened, remembered, hidden under wild ferns of Howth. Below us bay sleeping sky, no sound, the sky. The bay purple by the lion's head, green by Drumlick, yellowy-green towards Sutton, fields of undersea, the lights faint brown in grass, buried cities. Pillowed on my coat, she had her hair, airwigs in the heather scrub, my hand under her nape. You'll toss me all. Oh wonder, cool soft with ointments her hand touched me, caressed. Her eyes upon me did not turn away, ravished over her I lay, full lips full open, kissed her mouth. Yum. Softly she gave me in my mouth the seed cake worm and chewed. Mawkish pulp, her mouth had mumbled, sweet and sour with spittle. Joy, I ate it. Joy. Young life, her lips that gave me pouting. Soft, warm, sticky gum jelly lips. Flowers her eyes wear. Take me. Willing eyes, pebbles fell. She lay still. A goat. No one. High on Ben Howth, rhododendrons, a nanny goat walking sure-footed, dropping currants, screened under ferns, she laughed worm-folded. Wildly I lay on her, kissed her, eyes, her lips, her stretched neck, beating, a woman's breasts full in her blouse of non-veiling, fat nipples upright. Hot I tongued her, she kissed me, I was kissed. All yielding, she tossed my hair, kissed. She kissed me. Me and me now. Stuck, the flies buzzed.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Damn. All right, no, that's quite the passage.
I just love how edible the language is.
And this is all these 2 pages where it's all his thinking, right? And we go from these images of food, right, and this sort of physical hunger.
Yes, for example, in Stuart Gilbert's guide, he associates an organ of the body with each section, and this section is the esophagus.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Bloom is stopping for lunch, he's at this restaurant. He orders this sandwich with really strong cheese and wine. And I really like the contrast between men and women in this passage. Like we see how men are disgusting with their beards full of beer and their chewing sounds. Horrible. And then we have the contrast of Molly and everything sweet, and the flavors are also like gendered in some way.
Mawkish pulp her mouth had mumbled sweet and sour with spittle. Joy, I ate it. Joy.
Not sticky gum, jelly lips.
Yeah, right. No, even the sounds
and the sensation.
Yeah.
Like the amount of imagery is insane.
But you can definitely see, right? Those of you out there listening, you can tell why it can be so complicated. There's nothing going on here. There's just this guy thinking and remembering and thinking back to his wife.
Remembering by seeing two flies.
Two flies on the window pane.
On the window pane.
Doing their stuff, and he's like, that reminds me of that first time when I really like the ending when he's describing, that moment where he's with his future. Are they married by then? I don't remember.
I think they're married.
They're already married, right? This is their first time. And he says, hot I tongued her, she kissed me, I was kissed. I don't know, that passive voice at the end, I think really sets him apart from all the other men. She kissed me and I was kissed. It's not I kissed her. I know he says hot I tongued her, but there is this passivity about Leopold Bloom that really I think sets him apart from everyone else.
And because Molly had a lot of suitors, right?
Molly is like Penelope in that sense. She has this long line, and there's an allusion to the time. 6. What does he say? It's 6.
Then about 6 o'clock I can 6. Time will be gone by then.
I think that's when he expects Blazes Boylan, the lover, right, to leave back then.
Yes.
So this is from your favorite chapter? Your favorite passage?
This is my favorite passage. A bit scatological, but I think I really like the contrasts. And as I said, how the language feels so edible. How you can taste everything grows, even like these oysters on slightly, like a lot of phlegm.
Yeah. The oysters, the gum jelly, the snails out of the ground.
Even the expression crème de la crème.
Yeah.
It's like an allusion to food.
Well, rather he goes into these like French habits and customs, right?
Yes.
And then we have the flies. Yeah, you can taste everything. You can taste it. You can perfectly, like you said, all the imagery here, the texture, the shape of everything, the colors, obviously the taste, it's there. And you're not reading this for plot. You're not reading this for any action. It's just this guy remembering, thinking, and he goes from the flies to his wife.
Yes, and even I think that even the flavors are a bit innocent. Like the cake and the jelly, they're innocent. I like how uncorrupted these flavors are. And
then there's the wife.
Yes, the wife. And I like this phrase, me and me now. And it is a parallel. I found there's another section, I don't remember which, that says I am another now and yet the same.
Now that he is wife, well, she doesn't leave him, right? But
no.
But he's definitely another one after his wife decides to have this affair.
And he spends the whole book thinking about it.
Oh yeah, no, of course he's obsessed. Like right now, no, he's thinking about the time 6. He's gonna be gone by 6, and yeah, he's always at one point. The chapter I want to share right now. At one point, he gets asked the time, and on his watch, the time stops at the moment that the lover is gonna go see his wife. Man, yeah, just brutal. So this is what chapter is this?
Lyscapes. I think it's the 8th chapter.
Lyscapes. Where in the Odyssey, that's when Odysseus and his men get caught up in some. They're eating something, that's sort of like intoxicating them, or.
And I think they are eating it with greed.
Mm-hmm. They're kind of like brainwashed somehow. No, they're eating precisely like under this spell.
Yes, I think I am confusing it with Circe. It's much later.
Hey, no, but this guy you mentioned, yeah, I do remember now that guy precisely. That every chapter is associated with some organ.
This one's the esophagus.
Yeah.
There are others that have the lungs.
Right.
Or the heart, I guess.
I don't remember, but I do have that guide. I have the ebook of that guide precisely. Yeah, with very clear. Really takes you also by the hand. Very cool.
Yeah.
Let me share very quickly a little bit of another passage. This one's gonna be this one is Nausicaa. I think it's chapter 13, page 346. Well, let me just read maybe a couple of paragraphs, and we'll see how also the language, the tone, everything changes. We have a different point of view. Even though right now we just had everything in the first person, right? Bloom's actually thinking. That doesn't mean that the novel is first person point of view. It's not, but we get so much stream of consciousness and internal monologue that it can feel that way sometimes. But anyhow, this is from Nausicaa. A few chapters later, we'll get into what's happening here in a bit, but just listen to the difference in language and style and another point of view. The summer evening had begun to fold the world in its mysterious embrace. Far away in the west, the sun was setting, and the last glow of all too fleeting day lingered lovingly on sea and strand, on the proud promontory of dear old Howth guarding as ever the waters of the bay, on the weed-grown rocks along sandy Mount shore, and, last but not least, on the quiet church whence there streamed forth at times upon the stillness the voice of prayer to her who is in her pure radiance a beacon ever to the storm-tossed heart of man, Mary, star of the sea. The 3 girlfriends were seated on the rocks, enjoying the evening scene and the air which was fresh but not too chilly. Many a time and oft were they wont to come there to that favored nook to have a cozy chat beside the sparkling waves and discuss matters feminine. Sissy Caffrey and Eddie Boardman, with the baby in the pushcart, and Tommy and Jackie Caffrey, 2 little curly-headed boys, dressed in sailor suits with caps to match, and the name HMS Belial printed on both. For Tommy and Jackie Caffrey were twins, scarce 4 years old and very noisy and spoiled twins sometimes, but for all that darling little fellows with bright merry faces and endearing ways about them. They were dabbling in the sand with their spades and buckets, building castles as children do, or playing with their big colored ball, happy as the day was long, and Eddie Boardman was rocking the chubby baby to and fro in the pushcart, while that young gentleman fairly chuckled with delight. He was but 11 months and 9 days old, and, though still a tiny toddler, was just beginning to lisp his first babyish words. Sissy Caffrey bent over him to tease his fat little plucks and the dainty dimple in his chin. "Now, baby," Sissy Caffrey said, say out big, big. I want a drink of water. And baby prattled after her. I jink, I jabbo. Sissy Caffrey cuddled the wee chap, for she was awfully fond of children, so patient with little sufferers, and Tommy Caffrey could never be got to take his castor oil, unless it was Sissy Caffrey that held his nose and promised him the scatty heel of the loaf of brown bread with golden syrup on. What a persuasive loaf of brown bread with What a persuasive power that girl had. But to be sure, baby was as good as gold. A perfect little dote in his new fancy bib. None of your spoiled beauties, Flora McFlimsy's sort, was Sissy Caffrey. A true-hearted lass never drew the breath of life, always with a laugh in her gypsy-like eyes and a frolicsome word on her cherry-ripe red lips. A girl lovable in the extreme. And Eddie Boardman laughed too at the quaint language of little brother. Anyhow, so this eventually, here we're going to meet the other of the three girlfriends is Gertie. I don't remember her last name. Gertie
McDowell.
McDowell? Yeah, Gertie McDowell, right? It's the other girlfriend, and she's going to. Well, she's kind of going to seduce almost, no?
Yes, but I like how contrasting. Well, compared to West Regonians, how girlish and feminine this is.
From the very beginning, I love that opening.
The summer evening had begun.
To fold the world in its mysterious embrace, right? It's a lot easier to read, and of course there is this mocking tone that Joyce is giving to this girl's way of expressing herself, right? And I remember reading this, I thought, oh well, here's a nice break from everything we've had so far. This is maybe a little easier, even though he's making fun of this girl. At least we have a different voice, a different way of seeing the world, right? And but I remember thinking, but this isn't this. If this is the only way that James Joyce can write a woman's point of view, then that's not very cool. And then, you get to the ending of the novel and you read Molly's monologue.
Yes, and Molly isn't present. Well, she is present. She's present in absence.
Yeah.
Her first words in the beginning of the novel is
Mm-hmm.
And we just have a monologue of her at the very end.
That expands, I think, just 3 sentences. I think there's like 2 or 3 periods in there, and it's the whole last chapter.
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's the whole last chapter with just 3 periods in there, and it's just her.
And it's like 20 pages long.
And it's like, yeah.
And 3 sentences.
Yeah, but man, I just really loved how that chapter captures the essence of Molly.
Yes, but imagine making a grammatical analysis of. I am sure.
There's gotta be,
Yes.
But this chapter really, I think, presents us with Joyce's capacity to actually, change voice, change point of view, character, and.
Yes, for example, what we were discussing earlier, that in Oxen of the Sun, he references many writings throughout, like English literature.
Yeah.
And he doesn't make references. He only uses the style. And the style is what tells you to which period that paragraph belongs to.
And that's what I was saying. You can read this superficially and maybe understand what's going on in terms of the plot of Leopold Bloom just walking around. But you have to be, somewhat knowledgeable, versed in literature, in history, in all these struggles, especially Ireland has gone through, because he's not going to tell you. No. And in fact, one of the reasons why Paulo Coelho hated the book so much is that, he thought it was too complicated and arrogant, because at one point James Joyce did say, right, I want to write a book that's going to keep scholars busy for the next 100 years.
And he managed.
And he definitely managed it. Right now, it does sound cocky, but dude, it's like you're trying to write something that people will actually have to dig into. But Paulo Coelho, if you want to write other type of stuff, you be my guest. But I don't think that's gonna be remembered the same way as this. All right, so
probably not as positively.
In my view, at least, no, definitely not. No, yeah, I did read El Alquimista at one point. I was like, man, dude, yeah, seriously. But anyhow, that's Ulysses, right? Today is Bloomsday, and June 16th, and it coincides this year with Father's Day. Now the novel also has a lot of father searching. There is this element of Bloom as a paternal figure to young Stephen Dedalus, whom we said was the protagonist in the previous novel.
Yes.
But there is this. You can definitely read it through this theme of this kid looking for his father and this man looking for the prodigal son. Maybe you can say, because he did have a son who died at very young. I don't remember how young the kid was when. But I want to say less than a year.
Yes, I think he was still a baby.
He was a baby still. Mm-hmm. And yeah, well, there is this clear father-son relationship throughout the book, even though it's not about that.
And it's more like a triangle, right? The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. We have.
Actually, because there are a lot of images, a lot of moments that talk about precisely. The first image we have when the book opens is with Buck Mulligan making a mock mass, right? And everything comes back to precisely the Holy Trinity and transubstantiation. That's when we get metempsychosis, which is what Molly is determined to understand, and Bloom kind of explains to her, and so that's another theme: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Yeah. But in terms of fathers, I was thinking, here we have a very memorable paternal figure, you could say. Again, he's not his father.
I mean, I think that's what I like about the characters in Ulysses, that they are not perfect, they are flawed, and they are very human in the best and the worst sense of the word. They are gross, but they are also very loving and very kind, but they are also selfish.
Very relatable in that sense, in their foibles. Precisely the passage I just read in this chapter, Nausicaa, Bloom is presented as he elicits a lot of pity from the reader. He's like at his lowest point, one of his lowest points. He's just waiting for his wife's lover to finish his business at his home so he can go back and whatever, right? And your heart reaches out for the poor guy. But then right afterwards, there's a scene where he masturbates in public to this young girl who's kind of been a little bit flirtatious with him. You're like, dude, really? In public? It's like,
she's probably the age of his own daughter, right?
She's definitely very young, right? Yeah, these are schoolgirls. Yes. Well, I mean, granted, she knows what she's doing at that moment, but it's like, man, yeah.
Still a yikes.
Yeah, no, it's still a yikes. You don't. So yeah, they are presented as very down to earth, very real, no? But yeah, in terms of fathers, and maybe we can wrap it up right now, because it is Father's Day as well. You may have some memorable fathers from literature. Good, bad fathers, but anyone that stands out.
Memorable, definitely.
Famous fathers.
Well, I think that Zeus is the most iconic.
Father Zeus.
But I also think that, for example, Priam in
In
the Iliad,
in the Iliad,
he goes to take his son's corpse back from Achilles' tent. He trespasses enemy territory.
in disguise.
It's like a moment of truce.
Yeah.
And he goes to take that back.
Priam, okay.
Priam.
You're going very Greek.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Sticking to the theme, right, of Ulysses.
Yes.
Good.
I don't know. King Arthur is also very.
King Arthur.
King Arthur. A very famous father.
Does he father any children?
He does, right?
I don't remember. I remember up until King Lancelot betrays him. Yeah, Lancelot betrays him. Sleeps with Guinevere. But I don't remember any actual children from King Arthur. But he's definitely a paternal figure, like any king in English culture, right? They're the father.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very paternal.
I was also thinking about Prospero.
Prospero! Oh my
Prospero.
God, yes!
But I don't really like him.
No?
There's this line where he calls Miranda, his daughter, like, "Oh, shut up, you silly worm," or something like that. And he's always undermining her.
Yes.
I don't really like that. But I think that he's very memorable as a father. Dr. Frankenstein as well.
Yeah, right. Good one. Not an actual father, right? But he does have his progeny somehow. His creation. But again, not very good. Not a very good father.
No.
Right? No. You're going with very sad father. Very sad figures.
I don't really have good memories of very fathers.
I have my own list of that I came up with precisely to share with, and I did try to focus on positive father figures, right? Again, in the spirit of Father's Day, right? And I my fifth one was The Man from the Road, Cormac McCarthy. I don't know if you read it, and this post-apocalyptic tale of this kid, of this man and his son just trying to survive, the wasteland. And I remember, that father is just obviously very protective, very determined to make sure that his son survives no matter what. I remember Joe from Great Expectations. Joe is Pip's uncle, actually. He's the boyfriend, the husband of his aunt, who takes care of Pip, the young protagonist, and eventually leaves them, and the uncle is left alone to care for Pip. And he's very, very paternal, even though they have absolutely no blood relation. I really love the way that he raises and educates and just does everything for him, and he is so unashamed of his past and his roots, and he would do everything for Pip. And Pip, at first really shuns him and is embarrassed by him, and ultimately comes to accept him. But Great Expectations. Let's cut it short. But my top, and I'm pretty sure this would be in anyone's top. Atticus Finch.
Atticus Finch, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
I would say if there's a good father figure in literature, it's gotta be Atticus Finch.
This is also more contemporary, and I know that you haven't read A Little Life yet.
I have not, but it's on the list.
But Harold is probably my top father figure.
Positive.
You will understand why later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, that one I do have to get to. All right. Well, that's it for fathers. That is gonna be it for Bloomsday. Yeah. Again, happy Bloomsday, everyone. Happy Father's Day. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, this is not gonna be posted on the day as such, but it is June 16th, today. And it's been great. Milla, thank you so much for joining us on Litscapes.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you soon with, we're gonna have a lot more shorter episodes, specials, and we're getting ready for some other last chapter episodes. All right. So remember, guys, if you like the show, subscribe. Hit that like button, share wherever it appears here on the screen. But
the comment section.
The comments, leave your comments, please. You guys know the drill, right? But thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Litscapes. Get out of here.